begin shortly. We are preparing to have a presentation by the National Chair on the cost of education. And we wanted everyone to listen and follow with us. This is a very serious issue in this country. We want to know how much is required to take our children through school, so that from there we have a discussion that will guide the whole process. So as we wait for the director, the PS, I want to really appreciate our directors who are here. We have the regional directors, both from Ministry of Education and those from Teacher Service Commission. We have our county directors, both Teacher Service Commission and Ministry of Education. We even have our sub-county directors and officers from the quality assurance. All of them are in the house. We had given specific seats for our officers. We may not be able to accommodate everybody, but we have tried to ensure that our officers sit comfortably. Our PS is walking in. Can we be upstanding to receive our PS basic education? Karibu sana Bwana PS. Welcome, sir. Karibu sana. Welcome to the 49th Annual KESSHA Conference here in Mombasa. We are very, very happy to receive you here. Thank you very much, colleagues. Let us be seated. Ministry of Education, Basic Education, Mr. John Ololtua, directors from the headquarters who are accompanying you, regional directors, both Teacher Service Commission and Ministry of Education, county directors who are with us, quality assurance officers present, other guests who are here, and all protocols observed, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I want to welcome all of us to the 49th Annual KESSHA Conference here in Mombasa, where we are interrogating the theme, Strong Schools and Collaborative Leadership in Promoting Competency-Based Education here in Mombasa. Feel most welcome. Welcome as we continue. So our next presentation, we want to welcome the National KESSHA Chair to make his presentation, and then after which we'll have a forum with our peers. I want to briefly introduce Mr. Willie Mwangi Kuria, our National KESSHA Chair, Head of State Commendation, currently Chief Principal Muranga High School in Muranga. Previously, he was the Chair of Muranga County. Eventually, he rose to become the National Secretary KESSHA, and right now is our National KESSHA. Mr. Kuria is fitted as having produced the best candidate KCSE in the year 2020. The top candidate in 2020 came from Muranga High School. Can we clap for him for that? He has also done tremendously in the KESSHA leadership in terms of research, doing a lot of work into information that has improved the development of education in this country. He has been outstanding in this area. He's also a member of the international, he's a member of the council member of the Africa Confederation of Principals, otherwise known as SCP. He is also a member of International Confederation of Principals, ICP. And then he has done a lot in those international fora. So we want to put our hands together to welcome Mr. Willie Mwangi Kuria to make a presentation on the topic, the cost of education. Mr. Willie Mwangi Kuria, kindly take the stage. This one is there.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair, who is also the Director of Program. Had I known that he had a profile, I would not have come that fast. But now I did not know. So thank you very much for that. I want to welcome the delegates. Of course, we are happy that we are joined by the Principal Secretary, Mr. Orotua, and the directors from the Ministry of Education. The session that is coming will be under the PS. And so it's good time that we are here so that we can hear or we can be able to share with the directors and the PS. I want to read a brief introduction here. So the Principal Secretary, State Department of Basic Education, Mr. John Orotua, the directors, senior directors of the Ministry of Education, colleague principals, all the delegates present, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Kenya Secondary School Heads Association, I'm delighted to welcome all the delegates to the second day of the 49th KCB KESSHA Annual National Conference. Your presence and active participation demonstrates our collective commitment to strengthening education in our country. Allow me to express our sincere appreciation to the Ministry of Education for the strong partnership that continues to exist between the Ministry and KESSHA. We particularly thank the Principal Secretary, the Director General, and all the directors for finding time to engage directly with the school heads through this open forum. Such engagements provide an invaluable opportunity for consultation, feedback, and adoption of progressive ideas. We wish to appreciate the government for its continued investment in education through capitation funding and for the bold implementation of competency-based education. The rollout of CBE marks a significant milestone in transforming learning and equipping our learners with the competencies required for the 21st century. As principals, we remain steadfast partners in ensuring a successful implementation. As we celebrate these achievements, we also respectfully bring to your attention a number of issues that continue to concern the education sector across the country. This includes the inadequacy and timely disbursement of capitation funds, which remains critical for effective school operations. We also seek continued support in addressing the affordability of textbooks and learning materials, particularly for grade 10 learners, as the transition to senior school gathers momentum. Further, we request a broader stakeholder engagement on the proposal to standardize school uniforms. While we appreciate the intentions behind the proposal, we believe further consultations would help address practical concerns and preserve the unique identity and traditions of our institutions. We are equally concerned about the recurring cases of students unrest witnessed in some schools. This challenge calls for a collective and multi-sectoral approach involving schools, parents, religious institutions, government agencies, and societies at large. We remain hopeful that together we can identify sustainable solutions that promote discipline, learner well-being, and a conducive learning environment. As we deliberate under this year's theme, Strong Schools and Collaborative Leadership for Promoting Competency-Based Education, we are reminded that the success of our education reforms will depend on our genuine partnership, open dialogue, and shared responsibility among all stakeholders. Distinguished leaders and delegates present, we look forward to a fruitful engagement during this forum and trust that the concerns and the proposals raised will receive dutiful consideration. Once again, thank you for your unwavering support to education and to KESSHA. I wish you all productive deliberations. God bless you all. And after coming you now, I want to raise a few of our concerns or what we'd like maybe the ministry and the education sector to consider because of the times that are there in our schools. The topic that I'm handling today is the cost of education. And when we come to the cost of education, what we look at is actually how much should a student pay to be in school for 1 year. And of course, this is done in two forms, in form of school fees and capitation. But now we don't want to say this capitation, this is fees. We want just to look at how much is a student or can a student pay to sustain a school for 1 year. And I think I should be able to highlight. We remember that the current fee that is charged in high school, senior schools, was set in 2015. 2015, this year, this will be about 11 years from that time. So a child who was born at that time is joining junior school. Those are very many years. And therefore we find that it is not possible. I needed to move about. It is not possible that the fees that was there then is the same one that would be there today. So with that one, I think the introduction there is that we can see that the fees that was there was set in 2015 and has not been reviewed despite of the escalation of prices of commodities since that time. And therefore, there is some justification then that these school fees should be reviewed. And this justification, somebody is moving so fast. First is that we find that the value of the Kenya shilling against the dollar has actually depreciated. I'm not able to talk from there. Thank you very much. I was saying that there are things that should justify the review of school fees. And the first is the movement in the price index of goods and services between 2015 and 2016. The prices of commodities for those 11 years have changed. Secondly, there is the depreciation of the shilling as compared with the dollar over the same period of time. Then there is the unit cost approach. And this approach considers the cost of maintaining a student per day in school, which of course includes accommodation, tuition, learning resources, and other operational expenses. The other one is, of course, the Kenya budget, the national budget. Because we find that the budget that was presented in Kenya in 2015 was 2.2 trillion. The budget presented this year is coming to 4.8 trillion. So the question we are asking, how comes that all these things have moved, but the fees remain static? Is it possible? I want to start with the first one, and that is the price index of goods and services. We have the common items that we use in schools. And you will realize from the table there is a unit cost of items in 2015 and how they are currently costing in 2026. The things that we use, you can see the copier paper, 2015, it was 420. Now it is 800, an increase of 90%. You can look at all of them, including the ruled papers. The rim was 400 in 2015. Today, it is 940. A difference of 540, an increase of 135%. And I think it goes on, the entire table. Even you look at even things like, I think there's a problem. Somebody is interfering with it. Or who is it? Why is it? Yeah. Yeah, somebody. Yeah. So from the table then we realize that the prices of goods in 2015 compared to now, there is an increase of 65.3%. What they were costing in 2015 and how they are costing today. So from that perspective, if we are to use that perspective, you'd realize that for a C2, C3 school, whose fees was put at 40,535 in 2015, and the C1, whose fees was put up to 53,554 in 2015, then if you are to look at that consideration, then the fees for C1 schools today should be 67,000 plus, and the C1 should be 88,364. If that was the only perspective we are considering. Then there is also the comparison of the dollar exchange rate against the shilling from 2015 to 2016, to 2026 rather. Because in 2015, it was at 90.5. Today, it is 130.29. And that's a difference of 39.79, a percentage increase of 43%. So, if that was the one, if I choose that perspective too, we would then find that the schools C1 and C2 and C3 would then be charging 57,965, and the C1 schools would be charging 76,582. Then, the other perspective is the cost of keeping a student in school for one day. And the formula shows the cost of keeping a student in school for a day, in which the figures are arrived at after considering all the 40 heads and then dividing by the average number of days that a student is supposed to be in school, which is 252 days in a year. Because there is term 1, term 2, and all making 36 weeks. 36 weeks is coming to 252 days. So from the average cost of keeping a student in school in a day, we get the average cost of maintaining a student in a year, and from there we derive the total fees payable per student per year. And then we can only now look at the various 40 heads in the school, and one of them is the BES, the boarding equipment at the stores. And this 40 head caters for a number of things, as you can see there, all the way from food stuff, disinfectants, and many others. So when we look at the unit cost of a meal in a public school, you see when the students wake up in the morning, he takes breakfast. This breakfast, we have calculated the mug of tea to be 20 shillings. A quarter loaf of bread, 16 shillings and 25 cents. So the breakfast, that first meal, comes to 36 shillings and 25 cents. Then we go to 10 o'clock tea. There again we have tea and an egg. Some schools may not give an egg, they may repeat maybe another quarter. But then, again a mug of tea is 20 shillings and an egg is 18 shillings, making it 38 shillings. Then we come to lunch. Lunch, on a very modestly, one student will consume 125 grams of rice. 125 grams of rice is put at a cost of 19 shillings and 50. Then the same students in the same meal will consume 150 grams of cabbage, which is put at 6 shillings and 50 cents. In the same meal, there are beans, 112.5 grams, which is costing 13 shillings. There is potato, which is 102 grams. And I think you should show us these items so that we see this rice ni kiasi gani, hii cabbage ni kiasi gani. We went to the far of kununua, tumemuletea what you give the students. Please, carry up. So, can you please demonstrate to them? Do you have a mug of tea? Oh, he said he has lunch at supper. Please let us start with lunch. Can you give us 125 grams of rice? We are doing things practically here because this is what we give students. Shika vizuri. That is rice. That is rice. That is 125 grams. That is what we give the student. Hiyo ni ya mtu mmoja. But it is not ready. So it is to be cooked. Don't think that there is lunch after this. It is, we are going to prepare after this. So that is rice. That is 125 grams. Then we have cabbage. Please show us cabbage, 150 grams. Shika vizuri. That is cabbage, one student, 150 grams. We checked these things. The way we went to the lab, kupima hii vitu, because there is no other scale that could have been able to get this now rightly. Then we went to beans, 112.5 grams, beans. That are the beans that we give the students, the same. The beans are costing 13 shillings. Then the potatoes, 102 grams. Potato. That is 8 shillings and 15. Actually, it is only one. Lakini hata ni kubwa hii. It could be above 102 grams. Nyote mnajua mnawapea moja. Inakuwa 102 grams. And it is 8 shillings and 15 cents. Then you go to onions, 5 grams. Which is 75 cents. This meat for one student, that is the onion for one student. Then we have fat, 5 grams. Mafuta, 5 grams for one student. That is for one student, 5 grams. And it is 4 shillings. This is 4 shillings. Much as you may not even see it. I cannot actually see it. Maybe I don't know whether I can be able to see it properly. That is 4 shillings. I'm told that there is salt. Salt, 2.5 grams. Nimeruka, salt. That is salt for one student. And some eat more than this. And this salt is 60 cents. Then we go to supper. Supper. Now, to Marisa, lunch. Suddenly, supper. So, maize flour, 150 grams. Hiyo ni ugali sasa. Hiyo ugali is 14 shillings. The maize flour is 14.60. 14 shillings and 60 cents. That is sugar for one student. It is 14 shillings and 60 cents. 150 grams. Then we again have cabbage. Cabbage, we have shown you 150 grams, 650. Then there was beans, 12.5 grams, 12 shillings. We had shown you during lunch. We had the same potato, 102 grams, 8 shillings and 15. We have shown you fat, 5 grams, 4 shillings. Now we go to beef, 100 grams, 45 shillings. Hata hapa kuna nyama. This fugua vizuri. The menikit is not meat. We went to buy Uko coast. We could not come, it would be rotten. So we bought today, this morning, 45 shillings. That is for one student, 45 shillings. Then in supper we have a fruit. Usually it is 1 piece of banana. Do you have it? That banana is 10 shillings. They eat during supper. Then we had salt, I had shown you, onions, I had shown you, is a reputation. So that supper is costing 135 cents. So the unit cost for meals per student in school, breakfast is 36 shillings and 25 cents, 10 o'clock tea is 38 shillings, lunch is 52 shillings and 50 cents, supper is 135, and they have to be cooked. Cooking is the miscellaneous, water, gas, those kind of firewood, whatever. We are giving it at 15 shillings. So a meal one day for a student in a senior school is 242 shillings and 10 cents. So 252 days in school multiplied by 242.10 cents, it means that boarding meals in 1 year should cost 61,009 shillings and 20 cents. Meals alone. According to the current BES, in C1 schools, BES is allocated 30,385. That is what it was allocated in 2015. So it has gone up by more than, and now, how then we are asking, it is not possible for us to be able to feed the students. I'm going back a bit. In 2015 guidelines, BS was allocated 32 shillings, 385 per annum. But from our practical, because we have cooked here practically, it has come to 61,000. Where is the money going to come from? Where is that 1,000 going to come from? That is only one 40 head. The second 40 head is repair, maintenance, and improvement. And those are some of the things that are done by this 40 head. the repair of desks, ground maintenance, school improvement, brooms, drainage. Those are the ones that are actually in that circular. But of course, there are others that are not in that circular, like replacing of window panes, fumigation, kitchen laboratory repairs, replacement of asbestos, and many others. They fall under this fourth head. Then I want to say that under this fourth head, the major repairs and improvements of existing infrastructure and the capital development cannot be funded by this fourth head. This one only takes care of minor repairs. It cannot maybe undertake a major repair. Maybe you want to roof a classroom again, or you want to build a new classroom. This fourth head cannot be able to do that because of the cost of materials and also the labor cost. And therefore, we are finding that in case there is school development project, then the parents, the board of management, and the parents should sit together and decide on the amount to be paid by parents or to be contributed for such. Otherwise, this is for the minor repairs that go to school on daily basis. So, as far as the repair is concerned, this fourth head, we proposed a student to pay 2,000 per year. And we have seen all the items there, right from the repair of desks and chairs, we are given at 250 shillings. Bed repair, we have given it at 130. Cleaning materials, we have given them 600. All the way down to ground maintenance at 60 shillings. That is per student. So in total, we have given it 2,000. This fourth head was allocated 3,192 in 2015. So this one, we are even asking for less. And why we are asking even for less, you remember, at one time, this fourth head, the other one for salaries, the one for EWC, they were one time combined into only one fourth head, and this caused chaos in schools. So this one now we are doing it the way it was in 2015 circular, because the 2015 circular was able to bring them one by one. They did not combine them. When they were combined, it is much later, and this brought a lot of hazards in school. So this is 2,000. We thought it would suffice or it would do some good work instead of the 3,192 that was allocated in 2015. Then the other fourth head is tuition, that is teaching and learning. And we find that the tuition expenditure consists of exercise books, laboratory equipment, chemicals, reference materials, library materials, teaching learning materials, chalk, computers, computer accessories, grid boards, school stationery, etc. And we find that with the transition to CBE, the introduction of subjects not in the curriculum before, majority of C1 and 2 schools have expanded their curriculum by offering other examinable subjects such as French, music, dance, sports, education, electricity. All that has made this fourth head now to demand more funds. So the funds, then I want to say that in order for these schools to sustain and teach the above subject effectively, more resources are required. Most schools lack relevant equipment to effectively teach technical subjects, and where this equipment exists, they are hardly enough or in poor condition. Rapid growth of technology has also made some of the resources obsolete, e.g., old model computers that are outdated, and replacing them is almost inevitable. The funds allocated for laboratory equipment and chemicals is hardly enough for practical lessons and the final exams. The government continues to fund some schools with TIG for construction of new classrooms and laboratories. However, no grants are given to equip the constructed rooms. So in this fourth head, we looked at it and we saw that the cost of this fourth head per year and the items you are supposed to buy we find that this this 40 head requires 5,642 shillings per year. In 2015, this 40 head was allocated 4,792. And so here we are asking for more. And here we have to remember that I never mentioned the textbooks, because textbooks are supposed to come from the Ministry of Education out of the part of the capitation for textbooks that is retained. Then there is the LT&T. This expenditure caters for BOM and the PA traveling expenses, local travel, accommodation, subsistence for teachers during seminars and the workshop, conferences, hiring of vehicles, vehicle maintenance, fuel, education tours, lunch allowance, interest, among others. There is also expenditure incurred by schools but was not factored in the government circular during the guidelines, like the inter-school activities. It was not then captured that time. Others is repainting of school vehicles, comprehensive school insurance cover. All those ones were not captured, but now it is the 40 head is used for all these things. So a proposal here is for the C1 and C2 schools to charge 6,330 and the 4,249 for C4 schools. You find that in 2015, this 40 head was awarded 2,421. So in that one, there is a substantial increase, especially when you take the current prices of fuel, it has really gone up. Then there is the administration costs. These are office stationaries, communication at the postage, telephone expenses, rentals. You can see so many of them, they are there. That is the administration costs, office cleaning materials, non-teaching staff uniforms, printing of receipts. The other expenditures that were not included in the guidelines that are in this 40 head, like office equipment and furniture, security systems, installation and maintenance, insurance of school property and workers, fire extinguishers, prayer days and academic clinics, cost of CCTV, all these are now being used for the same and were not captured then. So in that 40 head, again in C1 schools, we are finding that 7,400 will do something, 5,400 for C2 and C3, and 2,600 for C59 for C4 schools. In 2015, this 40 head was allocated 3,316 per year. Then there is electricity, water, the conservancies. You can see all the things that this 1/4 is able to do. So in this 40 head, we are asking an allocation of 7,590 for C1, 7051 for C2, and 2151 for C4. The allocation for 2017 guidelines was 7,802 for boarding and 3,151 for day schools. So you find that we are a bit lower than what was allocated in 2015. And I'm explaining it is because we have disengaged the 40 heads. We have not combined them the way they were combined after the 2015 circular. Then there is the activity, 40 head. And you have seen all the things there concerning the activities, co-curricular activities, music, drama, KESSHA Science and Engineering Fair, transport and accommodation for students, activity levies for the various levels from sub-county to region, purchasing of costumes for drama, games, uniform. There are many of them there. So we are finding that this 40 head is completely underfunded. And So from this then, we have seen that a proposal is therefore made to enhance funding to provide sufficient space for participation to meet the required standards. And this is 3,208 for both C1, C2, and C3, and then 2,300 for the C4. Allocation for this fourth head was 1,308 per annum per year in 2015. So that one should actually go up. Then there is the personal emolument. The following items are charged at this fourth head. There is monthly salaries for non-teaching staff, surface graduate, NSSF, affordable housing. There is WIBA, or the Work Injury Benefits Act. Other expenditures not included in the government's guidelines were leave allowance, medical allowance, computer allowance, annual increment, wages for casual workers, salaries, and salary for BM teachers. So these were not captured. Currently, non-teaching staff who retire from employment are paid their graduated by the BUM. In many cases, it has not been possible to make any savings from this vote to enable the board to make timely payment. Thus, when one retires during the year, one has to wait until proceeding year to get their dues. The other year, succeeding year. Many schools have quite a number of employees proceeding for retirement on attaining mandatory age and having worked a number of years. So here we have the salaries paid to the non-teaching staff, and you can see they are quite substantial. You can see the bursar there. You can see the accounts clerk. You can see the secretary, the messenger, the lab technician, the ICT tech, groundmen, caterers. And these are not our salaries. These are salaries fixed by the government. It's not us. Even if you don't pay that much, that's what you're supposed to pay them. I know you sometimes, because there is no money, you persuade them and tell them that things will soon be better, and they have never been better. There is the kitchen hand, the nurse, the storekeeper, the artisan, the driver. These are their salaries as fixed by the government. So I'm just giving you the things that we do with this 40 head. So from that, we proposed then that the C1 charge 15,816, C2 13,196, and C4 8,873. We know very well that that is the greatest challenge we have in schools, paying salaries apart from feeding the students. Because these workers are not happy. The workers in schools are not happy. Even when you see them there, they are looking at you and they are thinking what they can do to you, because they think you are the cause of their problems. So the allocation for this fourth head in 2015 was fixed at 80,872. And it is the one we are saying it should actually move double to 15,000. Then there is a fourth head of medical, and the medical and insurance fourth head is meant to cater for the following. Of course, you can see the sanatorium, emergency, first aid, medical expenses incurred in general hospitals, allowance and wages for the school personnel. There is also the insurance of the school asset and the school property, and as well as WIBA. Also, it is noted that schools with the functional dispensaries are incurring a lot of money treating the students because they are paying for everything. The cost of this 40 head has been fixed. We are asking for 2,000 to be for this fourth head. In 2015, this fourth head was given 1,660. So from that, we find that the table 1 shows us the cost of keeping a student in school for a day. And the figures are arrived at after considering all the 4 heads and then dividing by the average number of days that a student is supposed to be in school. From the average cost of keeping a student in school in a day, we get the average cost of maintaining a student in a year. From there, we derive the total fees payable per student in a year. So, you can see now that is the table. Teaching and learning materials, in 1 year, 1 student is using 22 shillings. 1 student. We have already seen that for BC, 1 student is using 202. No, I'm saying in 22 shillings is 1 year, 1 student. Then for meals, we have seen 1 year is 242. So all other 40 heads are listed there for 1 student for a year. And therefore you find after 1 year, the cost of maintaining a student in school then is in 1 day, it will be 440. Because what we get here, we subtract by the number of students, and then we get for a day, and then we get for all the items in 1 day. So for all the items combined in 1 day, it is coming to 440 cents. Because if the pairs, we divide it by number of students, we get 8 shillings per day. And then that is what we shall multiply by 252 days. So in total then, in all areas, for a C1 school, it is 440. In C2 schools, C3, it is 410. In day school or C4 schools, it is 110. So that then, when we look at the various 40 heads, then we do the calculations. And then therefore finally you find that for maintaining a student in a school for a year, it is coming to 110 and 25 in a C1 school, 105, 866 in a C2, C3, and 29,919 in a C4 school. Assuming that we get the full capitation of 22,244, then in a C1, we shall require a fee of 87,781. C2, C3, we shall require 83,622. And in a day school, 7,675. And this one for day school, there is no lunch is not included there. For lunch, it's like a capital development. The board and the parents to sit down and they decide what they want their students to eat, and then it is charged. So that was the cost of schools educating the students. But as we proceed on, you'll find that we really get the capitation of 2224. So the capitation deficit will then be added to 87,781. And then we see the figure is going to do what? To rise again. So deductions. So if we apply the concept of the unit cost for keeping a student in school for a day, then the following would be the fees. C1, assuming we are getting the entire bursary, the entire capitation is 87,781. C2, C3, it is 83,622. C4, it is 7,675. This is what the parent would pay if we are to get the entire capitation. And then there we are saying that the development expenditure is not factored. The development expenditure not factored are proposed to be agreed by the BOM and the parents depending on the individual needs. So here there is no issue of development expenditure. So this is the fee structure that was there in 2015. This one, there was a task force headed by Dr. Kiremi Mweria. It is the one that came with this fee structure. So that one was discussed. The purpose of bringing this one here is to show you the 40 heads. There is the teaching and learning materials, boarding equipment at the stores, repair, maintenance and improvement, local transport and travel. There is administration cost, water, electricity, water and conservancy, medical activity fee, personal emolument, and then there is approved PTA, development projects, there is insurance, medical. All these ones were 40 heads that were discussed and approved by the task force. But these are not the 40 heads that we use today, because later years, I think in 2018, there are 40 heads that were collapsed, like electricity, water, and conservancy, LT&T. About 4 of them, they are made into one. In that one, there was no stakeholder participation. Where about that one, we don't know, because the task force had proposed the ones that we have seen here. And that failure of stakeholder consultation has actually caused us enough problems as far as fees is concerned. Then from there, I'll come to, I'm through with the fees. I'm now on capitation. We find that the capitation that is being given to schools today was last reviewed, I think 7 years ago. And therefore it is incongruent with the prevailing economic realities. It is apparent that the cost of common goods and services has drastically gone up while capitation has remained constant. The money that was given to school 18 years ago in 2008, which was 10,625, that was the first time that the capitation was introduced in schools. And the money given was 10,625. And that was when the program started. You find that capitation is almost the same that we get today, 25 years later. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you this, that the average of what schools have received, when you take the average between the year 2020 to 2025, what schools have received by 2025 is 10,636. So, 18 years ago, the same money we got is the same, in spite of the many things that I have shown you. So you have seen capitation 2022 is 10,625. Then year 2020 to 2025, the average capitation is 10,636. The difference is about 10 shillings. Why is it so? I'm saying it is that way because, for example, in the year 2020 to 2021, we got a capitation of 17,243. Of that amount, 1,546.55 was retained at the ministry for the purposes of textbooks. The amount received in school was 15,697. Of that amount, we are made to remove that 5,000 and put it in the CBA account for capital development. So what was left in school for tuition and operations was 10,697. And we go to the second year, you follow the same. You go to the third year, you follow the same. The fourth year, the fifth year. So you look at the final calculations there. When you get the average of those 5 years, because some have 11, some have 10, some have 9, depending on how much money has been retained. So, or how much has been taken to the CBA account. So you find that that's why we are saying the final figure we had is 10,636. When the capitation was introduced, it was only for 2 purposes, tuition and operation. So when we say that capitation is not enough, it was added to 22. But then again, it was taken away to fund the capital development. So things changed but remained the same. So when you look at the case study of capitation disbursement for the year 2025, that is last year, you will find that there is the money that we expected. Term 1, we expected 11,122, but we are given 8,392. There was that money that was repaid, and there was a total disbursement. So there was a balance of 2,303. The other year, there was a balance of 3,202. All that one, those balances, when you accumulate for the entire country, you find then that there was that balance, 7.5 billion, 10.5 billion. Finally, in the whole year, there is a deficit of 22 billion, 501 million, 979,920. That is last year. That's the money that was not remitted to schools in terms of capitation. And so that becomes the cumulative total owed to school for the year 2025. The government capitation starts at 22,224 per year. That's what we have seen. But then, if I go back a bit, if I may go back a bit to that point, all those years, there's no 1 year that the capitation came to 22. All of them are starting at 17, 17, 17. Then there is 16, there is even 15. So when you talk of capitation 22, it is not 22 if you can take those 5 years as a case study. Then there is this year, 2026, this year. Term 1, we were expecting 11,122. We got 6,577. Of that amount, 1,375 was retained. So the total that was supposed to be dispersed, if including the retained, was 7,952. There is a balance for first term. There is a balance of 3,170. For term 2, where we are right now, we are expecting 6,673. We got 4,566, and therefore there is a balance of 1,821.